Guys, welcome back to Southern Extreme TV. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on my channel. Today, we are doing another rifle scope review from a company that I absolutely love, Tract Optics. So if you have kept up with the channel for really probably the last 7 years, I guess, you will have seen that a lot of the scopes and a lot of the optics you see me carrying out into the woods for specifically for whitetail has been a Tract optic scope. Now I have some other scopes, but I will tell you that over the last 6 to 7 years, I have grown really fond of this company. I think that what they try to do to help push savings back over to the consumer is a really big deal. And I think that their idea of making sure that their products stay really high quality, but also trying to remember the price point that America needs right now from an outfitter, from a hunter's perspective. So we've done a review on several of their scopes, all the way from they're really budget friendly kind of entry level type of optics, all the way up to one of their more higher end optics designed for long range shooting, and maybe specific long range target shooting as well. But they released a scope recently, and I've got a series of different custom rifles that I'm actually in the process of putting together this fall. And talking with Tract Optics and telling them what I've got going on, I wanted to partner with them for the scope for the scope portion of these builds. And one thing that I was really intrigued about was a new series of rifle scopes that they released. It's a 30 millimeter hunt series, and it's the toric. So if you've watched any of my Tract Optics reviews in the past, you've seen me review 1 or 2 different toric models. So one is on a Savage 110 High Country that I absolutely love. I deer hunt with that rifle. I've killed a lot of deer with that gun. Absolutely fantastic piece of glass, really top notch, and it's been a pleasure shooting. But the difference with this one is this is their hunt series. So it's got a 30 millimeter tube body versus a 1-inch tube body, which is a big deal. I really like the 30 millimeter tube versus the 1-inch. It's just a preference thing. And the cool thing about this one is it has an exposed elevation turret, but it has a capped windage turret. So let's dive into this unboxing, and then I'll dive into a little bit more detail about the actual scope itself. So another cool thing about Tract, they offer a lifetime warranty. That's one thing that nowadays, in my opinion, if you are a optic manufacturer and you're not offering a lifetime warranty, then you are pretty much either not manufacturing your rifle scopes to the best of their ability, or you're concerned about what you're manufacturing. That's just my opinion. So lifetime warranty on this optic. You get a 0 stop ring, because again, you have that exposed turret on the outside, so they give you that. They give you, that's an empty little bag from where I have recently opened this thing. You get a cleaning cloth. You get a sunshade. So for those of you that plan to shoot longer distances and you like to have that additional sunshade on there, it comes with that. And then we can get into the actual scope itself, which is really and truly what I enjoy talking about. So again, this is the Toric Ultra HD by Tract Optics. It's a 2.5 power by 15 power. It's the 30 millimeter tube, and it's got a 44 millimeter objective lens. So the reason that they went with the 44 millimeter objective lens in lieu of the 50 is so that you can get this optic a little bit lower profile to your barrel. So a lot of times what you find is with those bigger objective lenses, the scope will actually stick up really high off of that rifle, and it doesn't get really close to that rifle barrel, because the closer you can get this scope to that rifle barrel, the more accurate that rifle is going to be, and the less adjustments you're going to have to make farther down range. So really like that idea and that feature. You do get with this scope, which to me is a very big deal, you get an illuminated reticle and you get the side parallax adjustments, because again, this scope was designed around somebody who is going to be traveling in and out of the brush, have the opportunity to potentially take a longer shot, may not be taking as far of a shot that you're going to have to be making windage adjustments. And if you are going to have to make windage adjustments, typically people do that within the reticle itself. They usually don't dial for the wind unless they're just in a competition style situation, or if they're just really trying to figure the rifle out and what that wind's doing with that specific bullet. So that's why I really like having this capped windage turret on this side, but still giving you the 0 stop lock up here on your elevation. And if you've not heard or felt the clicks that the elevation and these knobs have on the Tracts, they're one of the best, if not the best, that I've ever used. And I know that's kind of a picky thing about it, but whenever the reticle or whenever the turret's just there, you can't turn it. And whenever you pick up on the turret, it then gives you a really nice, easy to tell, easy to turn adjustability. And then once you get it set to whatever your dial in is, you can mash it back down, and then that turret is now locked again. So just an awesome feature, because it prevents this scope if you're backpacking in, you're walking through some thick brush, you're walking up a mountain. A lot of times you can be rough on your gear, and it's very easy to just brush it up against something, and all of a sudden that scope gets knocked off by 5, 6, 7 clicks. Well, then all of a sudden you got to take a split shot, a split second shot. You throw down, you typically are not going to have time to look back up there and check to make sure this thing is at 0, and your scope could technically be off. So the fact that they're giving you the ability to lock that turret in place is my favorite thing about this scope, other than one other thing. Let's talk about the clarity. The clarity and the glass on this scope is hands down my favorite glass that I've got. All of my Tract optics are extremely clear, and they use a process called shot glass technology. And basically, long story short, what it is a factory that makes shot glass. The actual glass that's called shot glass is used by a lot of other really high-end manufacturers. However, Tract is able to take that glass, put it straight into their scopes, and they bypass that middleman, and they pass those savings straight on to you, which is a big deal, because you get a glass quality out of this scope that you would see typically with a $2,000 or $3,000 optic, but you're able to do that at a third of the price, which is unbelievable in my opinion, because I love finding quality gear that's at an affordable price. And I want to say affordable price as in what you are actually getting in a product in comparison to other products on the market of similar value. Tract does it the best that I've seen from anybody. And that's the biggest reason why I was so excited that they were willing to work with me on these upcoming builds that I've got. Right now in the making, I know I've got a 6.5 Creedmoor, I've got a 308 coming, and potentially a 7mm PRC. All three of these are going to be some custom rifles that's going to be coming out this fall. Probably 308 first, 6.5 Creed second, probably followed by the 7mm PRC after that. So I'm excited to see exactly which of those 3 rifles I'm going to put this scope on. I know the previous review that I did on the Toric with the 1-inch tube body and the 50mm objective lens, it's a very lightweight scope. It's probably going to be going on my 308 because it's going to be designed to be a real short, compact style rifle. This scope here, I can really see it going on really and truly any type of rifle that you want, because it's so versatile. You get the wide field of view with the 2.5 base magnification, but then you can dial it all the way over to 15 power. So if you are taking those longer shots, you can get really in close on that target. And then you've got the exposed adjustable elevation turret, so you can make those real quick and simple dial ins for your elevation or holdovers, and you can make those longer shots. So I really think that this scope is one of those rare scopes on the market that, in my opinion, bridges that gap from a do-it-all type of scope. So many scopes out there are either just everything is geared towards the long-range precision shooter, or everything is dialed back to the very simplistic, very few moving parts, non-adjustable, exposed turrets, or if the turrets are exposed, then they're non-locking, or they don't have a 0 stop. And there's just a lot of things that are lacking in the industry in optics that help bridge that gap between shooting long distance, but then also being able to take it into the whitetail woods where you only have a 100 to a 200 yard shot and still use the exact same scope. And this scope does that. This scope bridges that gap to where no matter what rifle you have, you can put this scope on there and it's going to work perfectly fine for your hunting situation. It's hands down one of the greatest scopes that I've ever seen as far as being versatile. The illuminated reticle is fantastic. You have 1 all the way through 11 brightness settings. So there's 11 different settings. So 1 being the lowest, 11 being the brightest. And that's a good deal because a lot of times people like a brighter reticle in lower light conditions. Some people like a dimmer one. So being able to really dial that reticle in to what your preference is in low light conditions is really awesome. So if y'all are in the market looking for a new rifle scope and you don't know exactly what you're wanting to buy, or maybe you're on that threshold of, man, I really need to buy a standard, typical looking hunting rifle scope, but then I also want to be able to take that rifle and go do some long distance stuff. So maybe I need to purchase two guns to do both with 2 scopes. Well, not necessarily. I would say start with the gun, start with the cartridge that you want to be able to do both, because you can have a gun that you can go shoot long distance and you can have a gun that you can go and hunt with and it be the exact same gun. But the biggest thing is making sure that you get the right optic that you're going to pair with that so that you save money in the long run. Because if you're not investing in 2 guns and 2 scopes, then maybe you can afford to buy a little bit nicer of a rifle, and maybe you can afford to buy a little bit nicer of a rifle scope. And the good thing about Tract is you're not having to spend that much money in comparison to the other scopes on the market that's giving you the same quality that they're giving you. So it's just an all-around great deal. It's an all-around great package. If you guys have never looked through a Tract optic scope, or you're on that fence about giving them a test run, I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite. It is hands down probably my favorite name brand of optic manufacturer out there. The glass clarity is fantastic. The color scheme is fantastic. Customer service is great, and they care. I want to talk about customer service real quick, because so many times whenever you call in to a optic manufacturer, you get the runaround of them wanting to sell you the latest, the greatest, and the best thing on the market. And what I really like about Tract is they care more about trying to fit you with the rifle scope that you need for your hunting and shooting situation than they do trying to sell you the biggest, baddest, greatest thing that they offer. Prime example of that, I've got a lighter weight gun, and I wanted to be able to shoot longer distance with it. And I was talking to Tract and said, hey, I think that, and I can't remember what the exact model of it is, but it was on their higher end side. I said, I think this is the model that I need. And they basically just said, hey, that's a fantastic scope. However, what you're going to be doing, you can accomplish it with this other scope that's at a lesser cost. And that's a big deal. And that gains, in my opinion, some trust from not only me, but it should gain some trust from you guys. So I highly recommend that y'all reach out if you're on the fence about it. You're not going to be let down whatsoever. Guffey actually just switched over, started using some Tract optics this year on a new rifle that he's got built. So he's enjoying it really well. And like I said, this is my 3rd or 4th scope from Tract optics, and it's not going to be my last. I can promise you all of that. But I really enjoy this video because it means a lot to me, because I care so much about this, and I care so much about pairing people up with the right equipment in the field. And I think that this is just that awesome bridge the gap type scope for everybody. So if you're new to Southern Extreme TV and you enjoyed today's video, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. We are trying to grow this channel to 100,000 subs, so every click does get me one step closer to that ultimate goal. If you have any comments, make sure you put them down in the comment section, or questions for that matter. If you have questions, put them in the comment section. I'll try to answer any questions that I can, and if I don't know the answer, I'll try to get in touch with somebody who is a lot more knowledgeable than I am, and I'll try to get you your answers. But that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on my channel, and I will see y'all on the next episode.